Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everybody with an invisible condition, no matter what that condition is, to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that you do have a voice, you have a community, and you are never, ever alone. Now, here on Invisible Condition, we get it. A lot of, probably 99% of our guests get it, right? Life can be tough. Some days are better than others. Some days are tougher than others. Here's the thing. There is always hope. There's always hope. So if you are looking at me like I have three heads right now and saying, Jeff, you're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. Where's this hope you speak of? Shoot me an email and just put hope in the subject line, and I would be happy to show you where that is. You cannot. Hope is so important that I will email you back. We'll get on a Zoom call. We'll email back and forth, whatever it takes. I don't want anybody to be without hope, because that leads to terrible things. So let me know. And also, I want to highlight speaking of hope, our nonprofit partner with the show, which is Hydro with Hope. And that is a nonprofit that Catherine and I set up, I don't know, almost 4 years ago, something like that. And we published this book through that nonprofit, and it's called My Hydro Warrior Story. And it is there specifically for people with hydrocephalus, to walk them through that process of, holy crap, we got to do brain surgery again. How do we handle it? How do we do this the right way? I've done it 7 times. I know that seems like a lot for some people. It doesn't seem like a lot for other people. It's enough for me. I think I'm good. I'm calling it at 7. I think 7's enough. But I do have some expertise that I want to share. So that's what the journal is for. And Catherine and I are also international speakers. We like to travel around and tell stories about why there is always hope. So let's see. Also, where is he? There he is. Jake, man, I tell you what, we partnered with a guy named Jake Ellis this season for season 8, and you're going to love this guy. Everybody's heard of Cutco knives, right? Or if you haven't, you're gonna right now. Cutco is probably the coolest company I've ever seen for cutlery. So, and this will prove it. So they have any kind of knife you want, like chef knife, paring knife, steak knives, anything. And my parents bought a set of steak knives from a guy selling them in 1981. I was 4 when they bought these. They still have them in their kitchen. They still use them every single day, and they're still as sharp as ever. So if you only ever want to buy knives once, this is the place to do it. If you are a company, this is the really cool thing. 2 more really cool things. If you are a company, if you're like a realtor or a like somebody in the trades, or somebody that you want to like not reward, thank you, give somebody a thank you gift for utilizing your service, like a realtor would like give somebody like a housewarming gift, right? These are perfect. And you can give them like a chef knife for their kitchen and engrave your logo even on the knife, so they remember, like, oh, remember who gave you this amazing knife? It was this guy. So, and the coolest part is Jake has agreed to donate a certain percentage of every single qualifying purchase back to Hydro with Hope. So win, win, win. Scan the QR code, check it out, and get you some good knives. The last thing is NRG, which is, of course, our sponsor, our studio sponsor. I cannot say enough amazing things about NRG. This place, I'm going to be real quick because I want to get to it, because today's show is going to be amazing. So, but for any business owners out there, you've got a network, and you know that there are always the good, the bad, the ugly, the crazy, the scary. There's not all networking groups are created equal. This one's awesome. I finally found one that I wanted to be a lifetime member of. I'm not leaving. So I'm a lifetime member of NRG. And I'm telling you, if you are a networker and or you're a business owner and you want referrals, this is the source of never-ending referrals. I promise you, I've never gone a week, except for the week that Mike got married a few months ago. I never went a week without referrals from that group. It's amazing. So it's actually ruined me for all of the networking groups. I don't go to very many now because this is the one I get what I need. So scan the QR code, tell Mike I sent you, and I will look forward to seeing you in one of those calls and you go, hey, Jeff, I saw you. I saw it on the show, and here I am. So I'm excited to meet you, and let's go. So now, okay, that's it. I am very excited that Michal Cooling is back on the show with Chronic Illness Solution. Let's bring her on, and we can see what the heck we're going to talk about today. Good morning, Michal.
Good morning. It's always good to be back.
Wait.
Oh,
now.
There we go.
Well, hello. Yes.
Good morning. Always
Push
good
the right button. Yes.
Yes.
There we go.
Oh, I love it. Well, let's get intros out of the way, and then I'm really excited about today's topic and hearing more from you on some breakthroughs, ahas, and discoveries and connecting dots.
Mhm.
What's been happening about the kinds of concepts we've been talking about for a couple years now. I share more of my story, season 2, episode 52.
Yes.
I got it.
Nice.
So I share my full story. If you want to know it, you can find it. Long story short, I was bedridden for a couple of years. I consistently heard my lab tests were normal. I ended up advocating for tons of tests, finding out I had an autoimmune disease, supposed to be permanent, genetic disorder, supposed to be permanent. Serious allergies. I was on a very restricted diet. I took tons of supplements all the time. I required regular body work, chiropractic massage. I had non-scented, unchemical products. I did water purifiers, air purifiers. I mean, I had to do so much in order just to keep appearing like I was functioning. And it was miraculous. So, I mean, going from bedridden to having a normal seeming life was miraculous. And it was working to manage symptoms, but it was exhausting, unsustainable. And at the end of the day, I still had symptoms, still had flare-ups. There was still mystery around, well, why now am I flaring up? And why now do I have to do another bone broth cleanse? Or why now do I have to do this? Or why now is that supplement no longer working? And so that's what caused me to have a humbling realization after being a functional medicine practitioner, a nutritionist, and other things that I was trained in. That's what I did for a living. So it was very humbling when I had to face the truth that I wasn't healthy. I was sick. If I couldn't eat normal foods, I was sick. If I had to take a bunch of supplements just to function, I was sick. If I had to be so restricted with my sleep and my time and my energy and my recovery and what air I breathed and what water I drank and all of that, I was still sick. So I wanted to explore what would actually being healthy look like, where I didn't need any of those symptom management tools. And God began to reveal to me through many different ways and ongoingly through myself, through our clients at Chronic Illness Solution, how to do that, how to be healthy, and how to bring ancient wisdom into practical, tangible, applicable, livable ways now. So scripture came to life, such as take every thought captive, life and death is in the power of the tongue, like all these things that it's no longer I live but Christ in me, I'm born of the flesh or I'm born of the spirit. Like all of these scriptures that we're told our entire lives, including about health and healing and his blessings when we follow his ways that nobody's experiencing. These scriptures came to life, and it was like they developed new meaning and they were applicable. And then I really started seeing and experiencing them as real and true in my own personal body, mind, health, etc. So fast forward to today, because we've talked a lot about this we have dozens of these over the last few years. I am no longer autoimmune, no longer have a genetic disorder. I no longer have my autoimmune food allergies and that cause anaphylactic reactions, etc. Those no longer are there. I can eat whatever I want. I don't require ongoing supplementation or medication like I did. I don't require all of the things. I can eat tap water. I can eat McDonald's if that's where my family's going on vacation.
Sure.
And I am free of illness. And that's what's so cool. So, of my chronic illness. So, that's what I teach people how to do to regulate their nervous system and get their body in a state of ongoing healing and repair,
Yeah.
as well as deal with all of the deep hearted things we have to face of why our body is in a state of survival mode in the first place. So if
Yeah.
you want more information, catch my story, catch our stories over the last couple of years of seasons. And today,
Hmm.
I'm excited because we get to hear from Jeff, who's also been experiencing this in himself and his family. And we get
Yeah.
to talk about a couple cool things. Normally, when we are thinking of all the what ifs, we are in a state of fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound mind.
Hmm.
He also says to fear God, and that is largely misunderstood because from survival mode, we all think fear means be scared and terrified. What the actual language and a better translation into English, other than fear, is to be in awe of God. And how he's been wording that recently with those in my circle is direct your fear to me.
Yeah.
So it's focus. It's where we're looking. Am I looking to the what ifs and looking to fear to give me those answers of how it's going to go? Or am I directing the fear that is coming up? Am I directing that to him and giving my fear to him? Fear him, so that the focus is on him, not the fear. And then he can speak to us where we're at. He can speak to our fears and he can show us the way. He is the way,
Right.
love is the way, truth is the way, life is the way. And we can begin speaking life and not death. All of these things, right? Take every thought captive into obedience unto Christ. Be conformed to the ways of this world, but be transformed in renewed in our mind in Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
So this is what we are working on. And we're going to look at the what ifs and we're going to show how God can use what ifs to grow us spiritually and to accelerate our healing process in Him. So we have a couple different levels from beginning to advanced that we'll review today. And Jeff's been
Yeah.
so gracious to be willing to share some of his breakthroughs and how he used to view these concepts that we've been talking about and his ahas of how he's experiencing them in real life now.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing today. Do you have anything you
Nice.
want to share?
Bring it on. Bring it on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so yeah. So where do we start?
Cool. Well, I think stories are always nice because they're relatable. I am so curious because you and your wonderful wife, Catherine, who's doing amazing in this work as well, um, you guys have been experiencing these very deep and rich encounters with God and how He's been working to heal you, not only through this work and through our coaches, but directly, because that's what we teach is how you guys directly have that connection and He can work with
Mhm.
you directly and individually.
Yeah.
Can you share, before you get into like the cool things that have happened, like what has changed? What has changed in how you used to see and view these concepts and what I've been talking about and what this work is to what you're experiencing now? Like what has changed in you such that God is now able to work with you in this way? And it's like the concepts are coming to life now. Do you know what's changed?
I feel like that might be a better question for Catherine, but I can give it a shot.
Okay.
Um, I think the main thing that I feel like has changed is my flexibility, pliability. I guess
Good. Yeah.
when you're, if you're rigid in your thinking and you're, like, well, this is how I've always thought. I don't know if I can think different, then you're not going to think different and you're still going to be stuck. So
And Jeff, thank
that,
you for saying that.
so,
So true, spot on.
and so that's probably been one of the biggest things is saying, oh, okay. Um, it's different because it's going to be different because this is different, and so you got to be open to what different things might be presented to you to experience. And and so I think that's the biggest thing I've had to learn is to it, I swear this always goes back to the Matrix. Like,
That's
it's like, the clip that I keep thinking of is, he's kind of waking up from his sleep after he's been, brought to this new world, and he's been, kind of passed out for a while, and they've been rebuilding his muscles and everything. And then he opens his eyes, and he's opened his eyes, he can barely open them. He's like, why do my eyes hurt? And Morpheus looks at him and says, because you've never used them before, and that's exact. And I know I keep saying that. I've said that a couple times recently, but that's the only thing I can think of is you, you just don't know what you don't know until you do. And then you do, and you're like, holy crap, this is cool.
yep.
This is a whole new, like, it's like a whole other dimension of working and living and dealing with things. And like, you just don't know what you don't know. So
Yes. That's so beautiful. I can hear Jesus speaking in you. It's so neat. You're saying things that I have heard others say without you knowing that about this work, and also pointing to the themes of what he's teaching a lot of us right now about our inflexibility and rigidity, right? And our need to control and our need to dig our heels into the way things have been
right.
that's comfortable for us, instead of being open, which we say a lot. It's about being open hearted to what he wants to expose and reveal in us. Lord, like, what is the condition of my heart? Lord, search my heart, O Lord, is one of the most powerful prayers. If you start praying that every day, hang up your hats, and you probably need some support, because he's going to start showing a lot of stuff you might not know how to handle. But with a community and with support and with people that have walked this path for a lot of years ahead of you, that's a helpful support to have. And it's such a beautiful and rewarding journey for
Well, and in the episode that just aired about a week ago, I'm trying to remember what exactly it was called. Soul surgery. It was called Soul Surgery, 13 Years in the Making. And that one, it was about a week. It was last week it aired, I think. Last Tuesday, maybe. By the time this airs, it might be longer ago. Just
That's
forget.
fine.
I forgot.
Okay.
It was right at the
Our
point
most recent last episode.
most recent, the last one before this
Yes.
was called Soul Surgery, 13 Years in the Making. Yeah, I don't know. The timing thing throws me off sometimes. And that one was incredibly freeing. And go back and watch that one, because I don't want to retell the story, because we got other things to get to today. But that one was like 10,000 pound weight lifted off. And again, last night, literally last night, Catherine and I were working through some other stuff and doing a little less major soul surgery. It wasn't quite as huge, but it was still nonetheless, important.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, it was stuff that you just don't know what is going to impact you long term until it's been long term, and now things are popping up, and you're going, oh man, thought we already talked about this.
Yes.
And that's exactly what I said last night. I was like, God, I thought we already got through this.
Oh my gosh, how many times I've thought that in my life
Oh,
lessons. I can't, countless. I can't
I
even
know.
tell you how many, God knows. But
I know.
that is a consistent experience for me. I thought this was already resolved. And that comes from an illusion of having ever arrived ever anywhere. And what I'm noticing is it's more like this spiral where it reviews, if you think about the years and the seasons and, like the cycle.
Yeah.
We are consistently reviewing from a higher vantage point. And just like a marriage, I would hope, and a marriage isn't going to sustain if people do feel this way, of like, oh, now we're married, we've arrived. It's like, no, man, every year you want a deeper level of intimacy. You want to grow in the relationship. You want to know each other more. You want to.
That's like saying,
One.
like I told you I loved you when we got married. If anything changes, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't work, by the way. Don't ever do that.
No.
That never works.
And with ourselves, this is a living, breathing, alive relationship that we tend to every day with our bodies. Living, breathing relationship. What messages am I sending my body and myself about how safe I am with myself, how much I care, how considerate I am, how loving I am, how kind I am to
Yeah.
myself. Nonetheless, with God and with our healing journey, it's alive. So
Yeah.
we have to be committed and connected, just like a marriage, in order for that to grow and be sustained over time. I love how
Yep.
you said dimension. I've never said this publicly. I think I've told one person about this my whole life. It was one of our coaches. When God was showing me a lot more, I was going through a deep learning time. And what I said was, this is an entirely different dimension. How do you teach a dimension?
Yeah.
How do you teach a dimension? That's you can't. You literally have to like show people or help them journey there so they can discover be in that dimension themselves. It's not like
Yeah.
a concept that I can say. No words I can say can give you an entirely new dimension. The best I can do is point, right?
Yeah.
Follow me this way, point that way, look here, critically think. I can ask you good questions. You have to do the discovery work. It is literally another dimension. It's like a dimension of love, a dimension of Christ. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
it's a great word came out of your mouth. So I guess the cat is out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag.
All right.
It is.
So let's hear from you. What does God want to share with these people about your most recent soul surgery? And they can look and listen for where whatever was in you that you worked on is in them. We all have the same human stuff. So they can use the mirror of you and be ready with us on this video to do that work for themselves. So what do you want to share
Yeah.
about yesterday?
So the I feel like it always seems to stem from the most innocent statement that, like the major soul surgery that happened a few weeks ago was stemming from a very innocent statement of, oh yeah, Catherine, remember I was talking to her, I said, hey, remember when I said that yesterday? And she said, no, that actually, I know it felt like yesterday, but that was actually this morning. That exchange, that 30-second exchange, sent me down a spiral that led to probably the most painful soul surgery of my life. And same thing yesterday. It wasn't quite as profound or quite as major, but it was something very very innocent that we said, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. But it came to the realization that I was still holding hostility towards Catherine and towards somebody in the hospital, that I was in the hospital. So I was the earliest there was a time I was in there for surgery in summer of 13, and then in 2014, like December of, I think it was December of, no, anyway. So I was in there for about 3 weeks in 2014 for a couple surgeries, and during that time, Catherine thought it would be. I've had this baby blanket since I was born. A friend of the family made it. This cute, beautiful little baby blanket, and I've had it for years. And when you're in elementary school and you're sick and you just want something familiar, so you snuggle up with your baby blanket. And I've just had this blanket for so long, and it's gotten repaired over time. Grandma's like stitched it up. And like I've had it forever, and it's just been a part of me, a part of my household. And so Catherine, so we were in the hospital, and we were in there for about a week, and Catherine brought that blanket in because she's like, well, maybe he would want it for comfort. And I was like, oh, cool, blanket, yay. Well, about a week before I left the hospital, I, I was the person came in to like change the room over and change the bedding and change the towels and the thing. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll go in the bathroom or whatever and take a shower or whatever while you're doing that. And I came back out, and everything was new. My blanket was missing. It had been gathered up with all the blankets. They just kind of gathered everything up in one big giant ball, because they do it all day long. They're not, being super discriminate about it, so they just gathered everything up and threw it in the thing. It was gone. It was gone. The blanket was gone. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh my God. So I was like walking down the hall going, where did she go? Where did this lady go? And I put it on the lost and found site for the hospital for months. I was looking for this blanket. I was like, come on. And so never did find it. It's gone. And that was 12 years ago. And apparently, I thought that I had, of course, I had some hidden hostility towards Catherine about that, even though I know she didn't do it on purpose. Right. I know that the nurse didn't do it on, or the person that came in to took, I know none of it was intentional. None of it was intentional. It was all accidental. Nonetheless, it left me with some very real wounds and some very real emotions that were very negative. And so all that came to the surface last night. And it was really, it was tough, and so but through a lot of crying and a lot of, I was mad, and but we got through it, and we finally, we prayed for forgiveness for her and for whoever that person is. I don't remember her name, but the woman that changed the bed and all the things, and then gave, identified all the emotions, identified all the things, like, well, here, let's see what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Like, all of these, there was what do we got there? We got anger. We got some pride, maybe. Whoops, where'd it go?
And grief. Yeah.
And grief and shame, maybe, that why did I leave? Why shouldn't have left, and fear that I would never find it again. Or
and even the ones on the top of the list,
like, so I'm giving grace because I know she didn't do it.
Right.
Grace. Right. Notice all that stuff's in quotes.
Yeah,
right,
that's
everybody.
what I was going to say.
I didn't notice that, by the way. I was like, when I was talking to you one time, I remember telling you inner wisdom to a response of a question you said, and I didn't realize they were in quotes. I was like, oh, okay.
So wise from the ego.
So wise from the inside.
Like logic or love. It's like, well, I don't feel loved, I feel violated. Like a lot of these words, it's the opposite is our experience. I'm not at peace. I needed my blanket to be a peace that was violated, right? It's a violation of peace. It's a violation of unity. It's a violation. I know better. Why wasn't this given to me? Okay, fine, I'll surrender. Okay, I'll surrender it because it wasn't intentional, but then you hold on to it. It's like,
but even if it wasn't intentional, you're still pissed off about it,
right?
Or I still was. I was still so angry about it. I didn't know. It didn't even occur to me, because as a Christian, as a Jesus follower, that you're supposed to forgive and you're supposed to be okay, and you're, because especially if it wasn't intentional. Right. But I was still harboring this deep anger, and so that was one of the things, and so that's what we did. And so, and Catherine had to, forgive herself, for bringing it in the first place and making that decision that turned out to be, the wrong decision that we didn't even know was going to be a wrong decision. But it's, and all these things that affect you emotionally that you don't even know are going to do that.
Yeah.
And so after that, it was crazy. It was like I don't know how much weight I've been freaking carrying around these last 50 years, but oh my God, it feels like every time we do this soul surgery, it's like another 5,000 pounds lifted off my. Oh, this is one interesting thing though. So I got to go back just for a second. So at one point during that, this is the coolest part. At one point during that process of, we got to a certain point in a prayer that I was kind of walking through some forgiveness for Catherine, and we got to a certain point where I was going to take on that was like, I choose to accept the pain and consequences of this decision. Like I choose to take that on so that I can hand it over to Jesus, and and I was getting ready to take that on and make that choice, and I couldn't, and I could just feel this this blanket of something on top of me, and I literally was, I was shaking, like I was like trying to get this thing off of me, and I jumped out of my chair and was like walking around the house and just, and I was like, get this off of me, Jesus, you got to get this off of me. All right, I'm never going to be able to do this, and it was some kind of darkness, some kind of something, and but it was real, it was tangible, it was on there, and
Yes.
it felt like I had a wet blanket on me, you know, like a
Yep.
big heavy weighted wet blanket. It was awful. And once I got that thing off, it was like, oh, okay, all right. Now we can sit back down and we can continue, and then it was like, oh yeah, sweet. Okay, I choose to take the pain and consequence, and we just went through it and done.
Wow.
And then she asked me, and I was like, yes. I just took her face in my hands. I was like, yes, I forgive you. And it was
Oh,
beautiful, and it
that's
was great. And so but it was hard.
yes.
And I didn't even know that was there. I didn't know
Yes.
that's probably been there for 12 years. I didn't know that weight was there until it was exposed to the
Yes.
light. And then it was like, oh, oh, okay,
Yes.
there we go.
Thank you so much for your story, because there's so many key points that demonstrate what this is, are who we think we are, and that facade and
Mhm.
fantasy of that, because we don't know what we don't know. Oh, I'm not an unforgiving person. Oh no, I've forgiven everyone. Like, we think of ourselves so much differently than we are. Like you said, I didn't even know it was there until it was exposed. And that's what this entire process is with God: exposure or expansion. I'm
Yep.
exposing what's not me, so you can have a choice point there, and you can choose me, Jesus, there. Or expansion, it's time to grow, it's time to mature. And wherever we grow in that space, we have choice. Am I going to
Yep.
choose my old ways? Am I going to choose deception, pride, ego, self importance, anything else that could be presented to us? Or am I going to choose God and what his highest will is here? And
Yeah.
so the beautiful thing too is, I have never taught publicly, I've never said this either, that these levels, lower levels of consciousness, these demonic
Hmm.
things, are like blankets that cloak us. Um,
Yeah.
but in private processes that I have been in, with actually the first time I ever heard this was in working with one of our other board members and one of our practitioners. And in
Yeah.
his process, he said, they're like blankets. God
Yep.
was speaking to him about blankets. And then he went through a very challenging time, had a lot of trauma, religious trauma get triggered, and shame get triggered. And he was tortured by that for a little bit.
Yeah.
And he said, it's like every time I talk to you, there's this blanket in between us. And I said, yeah, I see it. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, you do? Well, what is it? And I described it exactly. And he said, you do
Oh.
see it. He's like, well, time out. Then you're not the one bringing this blanket into the space.
Uh-uh.
God through you is exposing what is here. And I said, yeah, where else has God talked to you about blankets? And it took him a minute to think, but he was like, oh my gosh, it was a couple weeks ago. I told you God told me the levels were like blankets. I said, yeah, he told you that ahead of time. So when you went through this and you forgot about it and you're just in the darkness of this thing, he could remind you what was really going on, that he is exposing this
Yeah.
thing that is blocking you from seeing the truth and getting over your shame. And so here you are, also saying, I've never taught this one day in my life that they're like blankets. But here we have God
Here we
working,
are.
yeah, multiple men. And these men are saying, it's like there's this blanket on me.
Yeah.
That's God. That ain't me. And so what's so cool is, yes, they are like blankets. They are like lenses that
Yep.
block and distort our view. And so God first helps us see, oh, I'm seeing this through a lens. Let me
Yeah.
remove the lens so I can see clearly. Let me get this dang blanket off of me, get off me, so I can make this choice for Jesus. And it wasn't you, Jeff, that couldn't choose to surrender that to Jesus. It was the entity thing cloaking you that
Right.
refused. So
Yeah.
first that got exposed, you dealt with it, you gave it to Jesus. Jesus was able to extract it from you in a
Yeah.
surgery process, and then boom, you were able to take responsibility and give that all to God. So this work. It's not me, it's not a human that taught me. It is God working through us
Yeah.
through this process. And what do you know? He's the same God, so he just keeps revealing the same kinds of things and healing us in all very similar ways
Yeah.
that are personal to us and unique to us as we need to have them be.
Exactly.
So,
Well, that and I want to make sure I say this too. Like I am like Catherine has worked through stuff with about me, and I've worked through stuff about her, and
yes.
it's like we are. I mean, we've been, we've known each other for almost 40 years, and we've been married for 27, and it's like we're still working through stuff,
Yep.
and we and I and going through this makes me love her even more. I mean, this is the beauty of it,
Yes.
is because I don't tell these stories for those of you out there to go like, oh, Catherine's terrible. No, 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 no. Quite the opposite.
Yeah.
She has helped me walk through this so that we could both heal.
Yes.
And so she is absolutely amazing,
Yes.
and is doing amazing things. And so, um, and thank you to you and everybody at Chronic Illness Solution too, because that is where she's learning this, and so it's all
Yep.
working together.
So beautiful.
And one of the cool things that came to the surface after all of that was part of it was financial. That's always been a thing, like my financial provision as business owners. Come on,
Yeah.
I know you're thinking the same. Every business owner out there has had cold sweats and panic attacks at least once a day,
Yeah.
going, "Oh my God, how are we going to pay the utility bill? How are we going to pay the mortgage? How are we going to pay for, whatever?" And then something happens and you're able to pay it, and you go, "Whew, all right." And there is a time in that journey that's how it is, and that is that for me, for some reason, has been a particular struggle. And so one of the things that God told through Catherine told me was a question, said, would you would would you still follow me? Would you still love me? What would you do if I said there was no more provision? What if I said that? You know? And I said, and so Catherine posed that to me, and I said, well, I thought for a couple minutes, and a couple minutes of awkward silence that felt like an hour,
Yeah.
and said, and said, well, I was thinking, I said, well, I guess I would say, I still love you. What's next? And I don't even know where that came from. Honestly, did not
Yeah.
come from me.
Came from
Did
him.
not come from me, because
Yes.
that is not something I would say,
Right.
because of the cold sweats and the lost sleep and the panic because that's me. That's the human part. That's the
Right.
imperfect human broken part that has very short memory for this stuff. He
Yeah.
just provided for us here and here and here and here and here, but
Yep.
you're panicking this week because you're not sure if he's going to provide.
Yep.
So
So true.
so that was one of, and so Catherine just looked at me and just kind of grinned and was like, okay, where do we go from here?
Yes.
So yeah.
That's so beautiful. If you can pull up the soul map too,
Yeah.
you can speak to that, which I love. Jesus is pouring out of you, Jeff. It's so cool. What's so neat about this map, which we call it a soul map, it's really like an ego map, but it's where you have to see where you are on the map in order to use a map, right? If you have the most perfect map that guides you to the biggest treasure ever, right, called Jesus, but the biggest treasure ever, but you don't know where you are,
You got to
or
have a starting point.
north,
Yeah.
south, east, and west is, how are you going to use the map to
Right.
find the landmarks and the things? You have to know where you are. And so this map shows us where we are. So those human fleshly parts, like you're talking about, is your old self.
Yep.
That is what you're calling. That's not me. That's not who you've been. And so we can use this to say, who have I been and what on this map has been interacting with my financial state? Well, anger in the lower levels, right? And so
Totally.
surely that doesn't answer. Yes, I'd still follow you. But Jesus, Holy Spirit moving in us, speaking through us, does say, yes, I still follow you. And that is the new identity in Christ. So for a while, when we begin walking this out, we start seeing this dichotomy between old self, new self. And it's not an instantaneous, oh, I've asked you into my heart, boom, done. It's like, that's why he says it's a maturing process, and we work out our salvation, and suffering brings about perfection and blah, blah, blah. It's because we have the actual work. Yes, we know the goal point. Yes, we are saved. We've chosen him, but then he has to start the work of doing the saving in all the places that he wasn't in before, one little bit at a time, like a soul surgery.
Yeah.
He's got to basically unhook us from the old self and implant the new self everywhere. And so
Yeah.
every area of life. So that this is how he does it, is through mini soul surgeries. When we're ready for them, he exposes the next layer of what needs addressed, where the old self is still habitually residing,
Yep.
and extracts that if we choose and allow him, and he puts himself in there. And then it is no longer I who live, but Christ in me. So what's so neat about what you're saying is I have lived this lesson. I had same fellow board member, the co-leader of this with me. He asked me, and when God started teaching me this lesson you're talking about, he said, well, what if God did ask you to be homeless? Because from my limited vantage point up to then, well, God wouldn't want me to be homeless, right? So of course God's going to provide everything, and of course God's going to do this, and of course it's blah 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 blah. And he said, what if it's not? It was the same God speaking through a different mouth to me, teaching the same lesson you just had. And I was like, oh, time out. Like, wait a second, I've never thought about that. Like, you're right. What if that is how he wants me to be, live, and where he wants to minister to people, is through that
Yeah.
kind of a story? Am I going to say yes, Lord, even then? And it began this work in my heart of having to surrender that. Okay,
Yeah.
then yes, my ego is unattaching from all the security and comfort I'm seeking, and peace that I'm seeking, and joy and love that I'm seeking, and money, right? And I'm putting that to him. No matter what you ask of me, yes, I will do it. So God began taking the what ifs that the enemy used to use. Well, what if this? Well, what if that? Oh no, what if this? Well, then that could happen, right? The enemy uses that to spin us up in fear, which
Yep.
he has not given us a spirit of fear, and perfect love, him, casts out all fear. And it's those in, I believe it's in Second Thessalonians. It says, Second Thessalonians 2, it says, those who have accepted the truth of love are saved.
Nice.
So am I accepting the truth of love, or am I in the what ifs and fears of the enemy? So he took the what ifs. Thanks for holding your thought for one quick second.
No. Yep.
I want to finish this thought. I know I went on a rabbit trail. And he began using the what ifs to spiritually develop me and train me and teach me new lessons. So he began, for probably the last year or two, asking me, what if this person leaves? What if that person stays? What if I ask you to do this? What if I ask you to give up that? Would you even give up your daughter? Would you even do this? What if I tell you, and he has and did, what if I tell you to give thousands of dollars to this person because their computer is going to crash soon, and you have no idea to know if that's really true, but you're going to do it anyway? So then I did it, and then the week after they fixed their computer, the hard drive, he showed me the hard drive was melted and bent, and it lit the computer to fail. So I gave my entire emergency fund security blanket, ways that I could cover my legal fees, ways that I could cover my daughter's court investigator. I was asked to give that to someone without any evidence that what God had told me was true. And that is what kept that person able to execute what God was asking them at that time, which they would have had no other way to do. He's asked me to do wild stuff and put money in places that make no sense. I have gifts that are for people I haven't been able to give the gifts to, with money I needed to spend elsewhere.
Yeah.
And it's been sitting in my car. And so God's been using these what ifs, this, what if that, will you do this for me? Will you do that for me? All over the place, so that I can learn that way. And let me tell you, it's way easier to learn that way in a simulated reality experience where I'm making soul choices rather than waiting for life to have to force me to make choices in those places. So this is more
Yeah.
of an advanced concept. I told you we'd be covering everything from beginner to advanced, but a lot of our clients and graduates watch these, and I always try to give them a little bit more too. And so the
Yeah.
little bit more for those of you who are farther along in this work is what if you could be open? What if you could be open to the what if lessons
Yeah.
where God can give you a scenario and you literally sit just like Jeff has shared, just like I have shared, and you sit with it and you put yourself in that scenario and you actually look at all the stuff that comes up, the little tantrums you'd throw, the fears, the worries, all the levels on the map, the pride of the enlightenment that I can do the thing God is asking me. Ugh, that's just as nasty. Get rid of it, right? Give that all to him until there's nothing but him there. There's no attachment. There's no emotional charge. It's just, yes, Lord, I trust you, whatever. That's the state he wants us in to be able to work with us as efficiently as possible. That way, it's
Yep.
like a video game, but we can't see what's going on. He's like, jump. Okay. Okay. I mean, it looks like I'm leaping off a cliff, but obviously, if you're asking me, God, to do this, then you know better than I do, and you're going to catch me, and I'm going to be fine. That's the level of trust he wants to develop within us. But it starts with the little things, just like this conversation, just like what if he asked you to be homeless with your daughter, and starting to work through it. And what you said too is that these soul surgeries, the most profound soul surgeries and soul choices, stem from the most innocent statements. It is the small things, not the big, that reveal the true condition of our heart. When
Totally.
we know it's a big deal and high stakes, oh, and when other people see it, oh yeah, I can step up, right? Because that makes me look good.
Yeah.
The stuff that no one else can see, and it's something small that the enemy says doesn't matter, and I don't get anything out of it from my ego. That's when the true condition and nature of my heart is revealed.
Yep.
God says to pay attention to the small things, not the big things.
Right.
And so as we become aware of these small choices, it reveals how we are about everything else. How we do anything is how we do everything. So it's in the small areas that he is able to work these soul surgeries. In the big areas, we usually are not aware enough at all to do
Yeah.
any soul work. And that's just
Yeah.
the way it is. Y'all have to take my word for it. More on that later. Okay, what are you what you thinking? I know I kept talking.
No, you're good. So yeah, what I would like to definitely reemphasize what you said. What you do here, you do everywhere. That's 100% sure true. And I've noticed that a coach that we've had for the last 2-3 years named Paul. That is one of his biggest things. Look, if you're doing it here, if you're doing it in this little area, you're probably doing it everywhere else. And if it's hurting you here, it's hurting you everywhere. If it's helping you here, it's helping you everywhere. What
Yes.
you do here, you do everywhere. And
Yes.
so pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. And one of the things that Catherine, as God was speaking through her to me during that soul surgery last night, was that she just looked up at me and said, God is pursuing you. God is pursuing you. He's like the father with the prodigal son. He is running toward you,
Yep.
wanting to be with you. It's not like he's not like, oh, Jeff hasn't been around much. I don't know. Maybe he needs to step up and then maybe we'll hang out, No, 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 no. Defenses are down. He is running towards you.
Yes.
He's pursuing you every day.
Yes.
And you just have to listen and see
Yes.
where he is and what he wants to tell you. So it's just, yeah, it's been cool
That's
to
so cool.
have that actually sinking in. And it's kind of like, okay, well, now I got to remember that. Now
He'll
I'm
help.
like, okay, all right, write this down,
Good.
So
Yes. And if we
yeah.
slow down, the more slower we are, the more awareness there is. If you think of driving, right? When you drive fast, everything's going around. You have less awareness. It goes by so fast. If you drive slow, you can see all this stuff. That's same thing.
Yep.
And there's one song that comes to mind. It's The Goodness of God. And one of the verses is, your goodness is running after me. And I
Totally.
just love that. And it's so true. So,
Yeah.
anyway, this was a great encouragement, hopefully, with some education and
Yeah.
some pointers on how to continue working and allowing God to work with you by taking the what ifs and using them for His glory and purpose instead,
Yep.
by bringing forgiveness and releasing anger about things still that have been holding us back in our past, um, and really being aware, seeing if you can allow him to make you aware of those blankets, those cloaks, that weight that is not him. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. That certainly
Yeah.
isn't him to carry around all this baggage. He wants to free you from it. So maybe
Exactly.
inquire, what baggage, what weight are you wanting to free me from this week? And we'll continue on with some amazing topic next time,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm wondering, I mean, we can talk about this after we're done here, but I had an idea about that. But there's so many stories like that, that even before I knew that that is what was happening, that's what was happening.
Yep.
There's been so many stories over the last 30 years, of looking back, and it's amazing. God has to keep reminding you, it's like, hey, remember this, and hey, you forgot again. I gotta remind you with another one, and so maybe we can talk
That's
about doing
good.
something like that. But
I have
but
two quick things now that just popped up, probably 60 seconds or less.
yeah,
Even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, your rod and your staff comfort me.
yeah,
Well, the rod is because there would be notches in the wood that would tell the stories of all the amazing things God has done. So that's why it was a comfort, because it was a remembrance that even in the valley of the shadow of death, I am looking at my stick, my rod, where I have written down the remembrances of all the ways that God has been faithful and provided for me. And we all should have that. My mom has an altar of remembrance. That's another scriptural reference in her window, of these little trinkets and these little things that remind her of God's provision, the miracles, who she's praying for, like all of these things. So every day when she washes her dishes, she can see God was faithful there. God answered that prayer. God did this here. God did that there. And that's what we are being asked to do, is build altars of remembrance, to put his word in our heart so that I might not sin against him and miss the mark again. So that is a huge
yeah,
area God's working with a lot of people right now. Why are you forgetting? That is a soul condition. And so to be working on writing it down, remembering, slowing down, recalling these things, remembering what his truth and reality is and what his love says and what his Holy Spirit says, that's the key. If you can just help your vessel remember, that is one of the hugest things you could do.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's like when they, trying to remember, where was it where they were stacking the stones? It was like 12 stones that they, right, to remember that they
Yes.
got through that, and
Yes.
or all the things. There's so many places where God does that, where it's like,
Yeah.
here, we want to memorialize this so that you remember that there was a good thing that happened there. So
Yes. The
yeah,
rainbow.
rainbow, hello. Yeah. So yeah, man. Oh, I wish we could go for another hour, but
I
we
know.
will next time.
Yep.
We'll be back. So yeah. But thank you, Michelle. This was awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you out there for wherever you were watching from. We're just keep coming back, keep bringing your friends, because this is important stuff. And every show is important, but these will really help you. I think. I mean, they're just so. I go back and watch some of them, so go back and check them out. We've been doing this since, I think late season 3. We started having Michelle on a regular basis twice a month. So it was like season 3, episode 40 something was your first time that was going to be like recurring. So we got a lot of material back there. We're in season 8. So join us for the next time that Michelle is going to be here, which will be, let's see, what's that going to be? August 18th will be the next time Michelle is on the show. And for our next show in general, join us on August 7th, which is a Friday. And until then, we'll have an amazing day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.